Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. You earn more money than you did 3 years ago, maybe a lot more, but somehow at the end of every month, you still feel like you're running on empty. The account balance is lower than you expected. There's no obvious villain, no single massive expense you can point to, just a slow leak somewhere. This is one of the most frustrating financial experiences a person can have because you're not being reckless, you're not buying sports cars or booking private jets, you're just living your life. And yet the money disappears. The reason this happens has nothing to do with how much you earn. It has everything to do with a series of tiny, almost invisible decisions you make every single day. Decisions that feel harmless in the moment, decisions that your brain is actually designed to make in exactly the wrong direction. Today, we're going to talk about 15 small habits that quietly rewire those decisions. None of them require a finance degree. None of them require you to give up coffee or cancel Netflix. But together, they create something powerful, a version of you that spends with intention instead of impulse. Let's get into it. Here's what most financial advice gets wrong. It treats overspending like a knowledge problem. Like if someone just explained compound interest one more time or showed you a pie chart of your expenses, everything would click and you'd become a disciplined saver overnight. But overspending isn't a knowledge problem. It's a behavior problem. And behavior is driven by something much harder to control than information. It's driven by emotion, habit, and environment. Studies in behavioral economics show that humans are fundamentally bad at evaluating small, repeated purchases. We're actually quite good at evaluating big ones. If someone told you to buy a car, you'd research it, compare prices, maybe lose sleep over the decision. But that same person will tap their card 15 times in a week on things they barely remember buying. That's because our brain has two systems, one that's slow, logical, and careful, and one that's fast, emotional, and impulsive. Most of our spending happens in that second system, and no spreadsheet in the world can override a system that operates faster than conscious thought. What can override it? Habits. Small deliberate habits that quietly make the right choice easier and the wrong choice harder. That's what we're building today. Habit 1, add a 24-hour pause before any unplanned purchase. Whenever you feel the urge to buy something you didn't plan for, don't fight the urge. Just delay it, add it to a list, and revisit it tomorrow. You'll be amazed how often the desire simply evaporates. That feeling wasn't need. It was just a spike of dopamine dressed up as need. Habit 2, name your bank accounts after your goals. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but when your savings account is called emergency fund instead of just savings, your brain treats that money differently. It feels like it belongs somewhere. Accounts named Vacation 2026 or First Home create emotional friction before you dip into them. That friction is the point. Habit 3, unsubscribe from all retail emails. This one is underestimated. Every promotional email you receive is a professionally designed trigger. It's built by teams of marketers whose entire job is to manufacture desire in you. The easiest way to resist a trigger is to remove it entirely. Unsubscribe. All of them. You'll buy things when you need them, not when someone reminds you they're on sale. Habit 4, pay with cash for your variable spending categories. There's a term behavioral economists use called payment pain. Physical cash creates more of it than a card tap does. When you hand over a note, your brain registers the loss more vividly. Cards, and especially UPI or contactless payments, numb that feeling. Try using cash for your dining or shopping budget for 1 month. The physical act of spending changes how you think about spending. Habit 5, set a weekly money date with yourself. 15 minutes, once a week, open your banking app and just look at what happened. No judgment, no panic, just awareness. The research is clear that people who regularly review their spending, even casually, spend less. Not because they punish themselves, but because awareness alone creates accountability. You can't change what you don't see. Habit 6, use the cost per use lens before buying anything. Before you buy something, divide the price by how many times you'll realistically use it. A 5,000 rupee jacket you'll wear twice a week for 3 years costs almost nothing per use. A 2,000 rupee item you'll use once costs 2,000 rupees per use. This single reframe stops a lot of low-quality impulse purchases in their tracks. Habit 7, create a spending waiting list instead of a wish list. Most people have a wish list that grows forever. Instead, keep a waiting list with a rule. Nothing gets bought until it's been on the list for at least 2 weeks. This introduces a cooling off period for everything you want to buy, not just big purchases. Items fall off this list all the time. The ones that stay are the ones that actually matter to you. Habit 8, automate your savings before you see the money. The single most effective financial habit ever studied is this: save before you spend, not after. Set up an automatic transfer to your savings account on the day your salary arrives. Whatever is left, you live on. This works because it removes the decision entirely. You can't spend what you never saw. Most people save what's left over at the end of the month. That's why most people save very little. Habit 9, avoid shopping when you're emotionally activated, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These 4 states are the 4 horsemen of impulsive spending. Retail therapy is a real psychological phenomenon. When we're emotionally uncomfortable, we seek relief, and buying something gives the brain a quick hit of control and pleasure. Learn to recognize these states as red flags. Not red flags for your mood, red flags for your wallet. Habit 10. Set a hard monthly limit for fun spending and treat it like a bill. Here's a counterintuitive one. Give yourself permission to spend on things that make you happy, but contain it. Decide on a number, let's say 3,000 rupees a month. That's your guilt-free money. When it's gone, it's gone. This habit works because it removes the endless negotiation your brain does every time you want something small. It also prevents the all-or-nothing thinking that derails most budgets. Habit 11. Never shop out of boredom. Boredom is one of the most expensive emotions a person can feel in the modern world, because the modern world has given boredom an extremely convenient solution: infinite scrollable shops. Identify your boredom triggers and replace them deliberately, not with willpower, but with alternatives. Go for a walk. Call someone, make something. The goal isn't to suffer. The goal is to separate "I'm bored" from "I need to buy something." Habit 12. Audit your subscriptions once a quarter. Most people are paying for 2 to 4 subscriptions they've completely forgotten about. Not because they're careless, because subscriptions are designed to be forgotten. They're small, they're automatic, they're invisible. Set a recurring reminder every 3 months. Go through every subscription. Cancel anything you haven't actively used. Even saving 1,000 rupees a month this way is 12,000 rupees a year you didn't notice you were losing. Habit 13. Shop with a list. Always. This is one of the oldest habits in personal finance, and it still works because it still addresses the real problem. Unplanned purchases happen when you walk into a store or open an app without a defined intention. A list is an intention. It narrows your focus before the environment can expand it. Grocery stores especially are masterclasses in psychological manipulation. The layout, the lighting, the placement of products. None of it is accidental. A list is your defense. Habit 14. Talk about money with someone you trust. This one feels uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it's powerful. Money shame keeps overspending invisible. When nobody in your life knows what you're spending, there's no social accountability. You don't need to broadcast your bank statements. But having one person, a partner, a friend, a sibling, with whom you can have honest money conversations creates an external check on behavior that internal willpower alone can't sustain. Habit 15. Define what enough looks like for you. This is the deepest one, and the one most people skip. Most overspending isn't really about the things being bought. It's about an undefined feeling of not having enough, not being enough. And when enough has no definition, the spending never stops because there's no finish line. So define it. What does a financially comfortable month look like for you? What level of savings would feel secure? What experiences actually matter? When you know what you're building toward, every purchase runs through a different filter. Not, can I afford this? But does this move me toward or away from the life I actually want? Here's what all 15 of these habits have in common. None of them are about deprivation. None of them are about guilt or punishment or living like you're broke. Every single one of them is about creating a small gap between stimulus and response. A pause, a breath, a moment where your conscious, intentional self can step in before your impulsive self makes a choice you'll quietly regret. The financial industry wants you to believe that money management is complicated, that it requires expertise, spreadsheets, and strategy. But the real battleground is much simpler. It's the 4 seconds between seeing something you want and tapping your card to get it. Whoever controls those 4 seconds controls your financial future. Wealthy people aren't wealthy because they earn more. Many of them do, eventually. But the sequence matters. First, they built habits that created a gap. Then the gap created savings. Then the savings created options. And options over time became wealth. You don't need to adopt all 15 of these habits tomorrow. That's not how behavior change works. Pick 2, the 2 that felt most immediately relevant to your life. Build those into your week. Give them 30 days, then add a third. The compounding effect here isn't just financial. Every small habit you build makes the next one easier. Your identity starts to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money and start seeing yourself as someone who's genuinely in control of it. That identity shift is worth more than any single financial tip. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. Every single rupee you stop spending impulsively isn't a sacrifice. It's a vote for a version of your future that you actually chose. instead of one you stumbled into. The things you buy in a moment of boredom or stress or social pressure, those purchases didn't bring you freedom. They borrowed from it. And the beautiful thing is, you can stop borrowing from yourself one small habit at a time. You already know what matters to you. The habits are just how you start proving it every day in the smallest decisions you make. Start there.